Oops. All right, wonderful. Hi, my name is Mike Devlin. I'm a productivity coach and career counselor with Keller Williams Realty. And this is sort of our motto for Keller Williams as part of our mission, vision, and value statement is that it's careers worth having, businesses worth owning, and lives worth living. Can everybody see the screen well enough? I'm not going to get darker. All right, great. So this is a real estate career session. We're going to also cover how to become a California real estate agent, a licensee, and the agenda for tonight, there's really three things we're going to talk about. One is why real estate. What that means is that if you're willing to take time off on a Tuesday evening to come to, well, something like this, it's probably because you're looking for something new, something different, hopefully better in your business or professional life. So I'm assuming that's why you're here. And if you're looking to do something different, better, why would you get into real estate, right? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? How much money can you make? What do you have to do to be successful? We're going to talk about all that. Is now a good time? Is it better to wait? Should you do it now? We're going to talk about all that. Another topic is how to choose an office to affiliate with, because if you decided you want to get into real estate, the next question is with whom. There's different kinds of real estate companies. They operate and are structured differently, and we'll talk about some of the things you might look for in picking one. And finally, how to get started is where we're going to cover what do you need to do to get a real estate license, how long does the process take, and how about how much does all of this cost? Right? Like
you are now muted.
Just because I hear noises. Okay. So does that sort of sound like what you came to hear? Is this close enough? I hope so, because, well, that's what I'm going to talk about. Well, I'm going to start with the why real estate, and I'd like to begin with a definition of some of the commonly used words in the real estate business. There's the word broker and the word salesperson, and those words refer to two different kinds of real estate licenses. There's two types of a real estate license. There's the broker's license and the salesperson's license. Now, the difference between the two, well, let's just start by saying that a salesperson can essentially do everything a broker can do with two exceptions. Right? There's two things you can do with a broker's license that you can't do with a salesperson's license. And the first one is you can be independent. A salesperson has to work for a broker, but a broker doesn't have to work for a broker. A broker can be independent. The second thing you can do with the broker's license is, well, you could brag about it, right? You know, you could say to somebody, well, yes, I'm sure she's going to try, but she's got the beginner's license, the starter license. I have the graduate license, the advanced license. Most people have no idea what you're talking about, nor do they particularly care, right? You understand? So, by the way, to be a broker, it requires 2 years full-time experience in real estate, or a 4 years part-time experience in real estate, or a 4-year college degree in real estate, right? That's usually the deal killer there. And so we're going to talk about the salesperson first, because very few people have a 4-year college degree in real estate. Then there's the word agent. And an agent, by definition, is someone who represents another person who's called the principal in dealings with other people who are called, well, the other people, third parties. So if there's no principal and no third party, there is no agent. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because we often say he's the real estate agent, she's the real estate agent, right? And I get asked this question a lot. People will say to me, well, if I go and I join the office and I want to buy a house for myself, for my own personal use, can I be my own agent, right? I've been asked that question many times, and the technical, legal, proper answer is no. You cannot be your own agent because, by definition, an agent represents somebody else, right? If you're representing yourself, you're called the principal. You're not an agent. However, having said this, I also know that's really not the question they're asking me, right? The question they're really asking me is, can I save money on the commission if I have a real estate license? That's the real question, and the answer to that is yes, right? But that's because you have a license, not because you're an agent. Right, we might say she's an agent, but if she's buying a house for herself, she's not an agent. She's a licensee. Right, licensee means you have a broker's license or a salesperson's license. And then there's the word realtor, which is a copyrighted designation of the National Association of Realtors, which is a trade association, which is sort of like a union, right? We sort of have our own union. Now, the word realtor, let me just put it this way. Is there a difference between being a truck driver and being a teamster, right? Is there a difference between those two, right? To be a truck driver, all you need is the right license, right? You go get a commercial driving license, you can drive trucks. Do you have to join the Teamsters to drive trucks? You don't have to join the Teamsters. It's a choice. Are there some jobs you won't get if you're not a union member, right? There's some training they might have. They have insurance plans and things like that. So do you have to join our union to sell real estate? The answer is no. Are you going to join the union? The answer is probably yes if you're going to sell residential real estate. And the reason you join our union is because you don't get access to the multiple listing service unless you're a member of the Association of Realtors. You don't get that key that opens up doors when the owner's not there unless you're a member of the Association of Realtors. But not everybody is selling residential homes that has a real estate license. Only about a third of the people with licenses are members of the union, right? You understand that these are different words. The word realtor is different from the word broker and salesperson and all that. Cool. The next thing is, how can you hold a real estate license? You could work for a broker, you could not work for a broker, but you need a broker. I'm talking about salespeople here. Now, the reason I mention this is people have said to me, you know, I'm thinking of getting into real estate, but I really don't know what I'm going to do. I don't really know who I'm going to work for. I don't really know where I'm going to work. Do I need to figure all of that out before I get my real estate license? And the answer is no. You could go get your real estate license today without having any idea what you want to do with it. And they will issue you the license one of two ways. One is called a working license, which means you need to have a broker. Or two is a non-working license, which means you don't need a broker. And you can get the license and renew the license and keep the license forever if you wanted to without a broker. But you understand a non-working real estate license is like a non-working car, right? You know, your friends are over and they say, hey, I hear you have a new car. And you say, yeah, I got a new car. Can we see it? You show them the car. Can we go for a ride? No, we can't go for a ride. It's not a working car, right? You understand? So you can get a real estate license without having a broker. You just can't do anything with it that requires a license, but later you can change your mind and activate it. What can you do with a real estate license? Well, you probably already have guessed that you could help people buy and sell residential properties and get paid a commission. The same is true for commercial. I've been asked often, people have said to me, how do I get a commercial real estate license? I've had people say, I don't want to go to people's homes in the evening. I don't want driving around on the weekends. I don't want to deal with families. I want commercial real estate. That's all. How do I get that license? And the answer is there's no such thing as a commercial real estate license. There's just a real estate license. If you have a real estate license, you can sell residential properties, you can sell commercial properties, you could do loans. Now, not everyone who negotiates loans and is paid to do so has to have a license. If you work for a bank or other financial lenders, you don't need a license. But if you work for a mortgage broker, you need a real estate license. Mortgage brokers are real estate brokers. And the people that work for them have real estate licenses. So that's the first step. You need a real estate license. The second step is you need to get it endorsed. And endorse means you have to take another course and take another test and pay another fee. It's called a mortgage loan originator, and that's so they make sure you know something about loans. What I heard was a few years ago, there were some bad loans made. I don't know if you've heard about that. And so this is one of the laws they passed after that basically says in order to do loans, you got to know something about loans. And then there's property management. If you don't own it or live in it and you're paid to manage it, you need to have a real estate license. So property managers, people that manage property for investors and others and are paid to do it, have to have a real estate license. You either have to live in the place or have a real estate, or own it, or have a real estate license to manage it. Primarily what we're going to talk about is residential. We have commercial divisions and things like that. We don't do loans. But we'll talk about residential mostly because that's, I don't know what I want to talk about. Advantages of a career in real estate. Number one reason, survey says, number one reason people want to get into real estate is freedom and independence. Right? It was a long time ago, I have to admit, it's getting longer and longer ago, but I used to work for a company, and their system I always thought was kind of odd, sort of strange, because what they did that was sort of weird is they told us what time we had to be at work each day. It was like they had some rule, right, that everyone had to show up at a particular time, and they would let us know when we could go on break and when we could go on lunch and how long lunch was, and at the end of the day, when we could go home, right? That, I believe, is called a job, right? Isn't that what that's called, right? So being in real estate is not like having a job. You can look around our office, you can open up the cupboards and cabinets and closets and that sort of thing, and what you're not going to find are time clocks for agents to punch. Do you understand? We're not going to call you up at 10 in the morning and say, hey, where are you, right? You understand? It's not that kind of a deal. So you're an independent contractor, which means you're a business owner, and the people that are most successful in real estate are people that have either owned a business and liked it or would like to own a business, right? You understand? If having your own business is the kind of mentality that you have, then this is good for you. Now, do you understand this is also the biggest disadvantage to a real estate career? It's the biggest disadvantage. I have a friend who works for a rather large company, and I remember asking him one time, how long have you worked for this company? And he said, ever since they threatened to fire me. That's when he started working for the company. Have you ever met people like that work just enough so they don't get fired, right? And then the company pays them just enough so they don't quit, right? And they work out this sort of, sick relationship. Well, I'll say it plainly, real estate is a non-salaried, commission-only profession, right? You understand? It can be a high-paying, hard job and a very low-paying, easy job, right? Because you have to be motivated, right? You have to, freedom, I heard, is a gift not always widely used, right? You understand? And you have to have self-motivation and self-discipline because no one's going to be standing over your shoulder and saying, hey, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Freedom and independence. How many people would like more freedom and independence just to see who's got a job, right? Usually the people with jobs raise their hands. Anyhow. Financial rewards. How much money can you make in real estate? Well, back in 2003, Gary Keller wrote a best-selling book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And it's called The Red Book. It's up there on the shelf. Still a bestseller. And the book was written by interviewing about 160 millionaire real estate agents. These are real estate agents that were netting $1 million a year in commissions. Right? And we don't have anybody at our office that's actually doing that. We did have about 4 agents in the last 12 months who've done over $800,000 in commission income. Right? And there's different levels on the way down. I'll explain a little bit about how real estate agents are paid, but one reason that people are interested in getting into real estate is because of the financial rewards. I don't know if you've noticed, but it's expensive to buy a home in our county. I don't know if you've noticed that. And so one of the few professions that you could have that's connected to the price of housing is real estate, right? You understand? Because if you wanted to make enough money to buy one of those homes, selling them might be one way to do that. And I know what you're probably thinking. If you were to make $800,000 or $1 million, you'd have no idea how to spend the money. Isn't that probably what you were worried about? You'd have no idea. Well, one thing you could do is invest in real estate. A great American philosopher and comedian by the name of Will Rogers once said, "Buy land, they ain't making any more of it." All right. And so the second best-selling book that Gary Keller wrote was called The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. And it was actually based upon a program he'd put together for Keller Williams agents on how to invest in real estate. We have training for our agents on how to invest in real estate, right? You understand? So there's a saying that we live on our commissions but retire on our investments, and if you wanted to invest in real estate, being in real estate would be a good position to be in. You'll know more about how the market is doing when it's going up and down, financing options, find out about properties before many other people do. Investing, how many would like to invest in real estate? I'm just seeing who's awake. And finally, security. Now, that may seem like a strange advantage. I have a friend who worked for Hitachi in the hard drive division. He's a mechanical engineer, worked for 28 years, got out of college, went to work for Hitachi, and 28 years later they laid him off. And they said it was not personal, nothing personal. Right, it kind of felt personal, but then they laid off the whole department, whole division, they closed the plant, right? So in a way, maybe it wasn't personal, but do you understand that even if I'm not saying he was a perfect engineer, but had he been perfect, he still would have lost his job, right? Do you understand? It wasn't that somebody made the decision that he wasn't doing a good job. They decided that no one needed to do that job anymore at that location. Now, real estate, on the other hand, is something that you can be bad at. You can fail at it, but you really can't get fired, right? Do you understand? If you don't get along with us, right, you could go down the street and work. You're an independent contractor. You could work at another office. If you find you don't get along with anyone, you can wait it out for 2 years, go get your broker's license, and then you don't have to get along with anyone, right? You could start your own little office. So there's some security in knowing that if you're good at it, no one's going to let you go, right? You understand? Because that's not always true. This being good at your job doesn't mean you're going to keep it forever. How are real estate agents paid? I know you're wondering, you're dying to hear that. So I took a sales price, and by the way, just as a disclaimer, the amount or rate of commission is not set by law. It's something that's negotiated and tends to vary. It's just an example. And using this example, I'm assuming a 6% total commission, could be less. That wouldn't be uncommon in our market. A sales price of $700,000, by the way, is below median for Santa Clara County. If you took condos, townhomes, single-family homes, stacked them all up, and picked the middle mark, it's more than that. All right, you understand? So more than half of the homes in Santa Clara County sold for more than that. By the way, people that are not from around here who see one of my videos, this slide really freaks them out. All right, you understand? They're like, you got to be kidding. So if a 6% commission was paid on the $700,000 property, that means there would be $42,000 in gross commissions. Now that's split typically between two offices. There's two sides to every real estate transaction. There's the side that represents the seller, which is called the listing side, and the side that represents the buyer, which is called the selling side. And it doesn't have to be this way, but the most common arrangement would be they'd split it 50-50. Each office would gross $21,000. Now, how much you get depends on where you are in our process. So at the beginning in our company, we have a program called Launch. And Launch is for your first 3 transactions. Basically, we drag you through your first 3 transactions. And it involves special training, a coach, and a transaction partner who's like a mentor that would meet with clients with you, go on appointments with you, and hold your hand throughout the first 3 transactions. And there's an investment in the training and the coaching and the mentoring on those first 3 transactions, which means 50% of the gross commission on the first 3 transactions goes to the coaching, the training, and the mentoring, and the other 50% mostly goes to you and some to the office. After the launch, you're in the standard Keller Williams commission plan, which is pretty much true everywhere, which is 70% to you and 30% to the office. But you might have noticed that there's a top rung that says 100%. And one of the distinguishing characteristics of Keller Williams is we have a system called capping. And what capping means is that once you've reached a certain level, you go to 100% for the rest of that year. Now, at this office, at this time, and by the way, the number may vary from office to office because it has to do with expenses and other things, the cap amount at this office at this time is $30,000. What that means is that when the office has received $30,000 in company dollars, you're at 100% for the rest of that year. Now, it resets every year because we have expenses every year, but the most that you would ever have to contribute to the office is $30,000. So if it's a 70-30 split, at $100,000 in gross commissions, you would have capped. Now, using that $700,000 example, 50-50, all that, rounding it down, 5 transactions at $20,000 each would be $100,000, and you would have capped. So if you do $200,000 in gross commission income, it means the second $100,000 you receive at 100% to you. If you do $300,000 in gross commission income, you're getting 200. You see where I'm going with this? At 100%. Now, we have agents who did over $830,000 in commission. So what that means is they were getting $700,000 at 100% commission to them, right? This is called capping. And all Keller Williams offices have a cap system. This, by the way, I'll spend a minute on this. I spent a really long time at a company called Century 21, right? I was there for 25 years, and I know what you're thinking. It seems hard to believe, given my youthful appearance, that I could have spent 25 years at Century 21. And just so, if you're not familiar with the system, the company that owns Century 21 also owns Coldwell Banker, Better Homes and Gardens, ERA, and Sotheby's, and a whole bunch of companies you may not have ever heard of before. Intero is owned by a Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway subsidiary, and Alain Pinel is independent. So that group that I just described are what we would call a traditional real estate company. And traditional real estate companies believe it's all about them, not about you as an agent. So it's all about the brand. So as a result, you always pay for the brand. Right? You understand? If you were to go to Coldwell Banker, Century 21, or Intero, or Alain Pinel, and you said, when do I get to 100% commission, they're going to tell you never get to 100% commission. Right? You understand? Because you're always contributing to support the brand. What we believe at Keller Williams is that you're the brand, not we're the brand. And we would rather you have the money to use to market yourself rather than giving it to us to market ourselves. There's a media company called Inman, which if you Google search you'll find is a big real estate media company, and there's a video of a conference that they put together, and the CEO of the National Realty Trust, which is the name of the company that owns Coldwell Banker, Century 21, Better Homes and Gardens, ERA, Sotheby's, and a bunch of others, was being interviewed, and one of the questions they asked him was, are you afraid of Keller Williams? And he said, no, we have a different business model. Keller Williams is agent-centric, we're broker-centric. Right, you understand? Those brands are designed to make the brokers the most money, but not the salespeople. Our brand, as it were, our system is designed to make salespeople more money, and capping is one of the components of that, right? At a certain point, uncle, you don't have to give us any more money. And I know the most common thing, I know what you're thinking, I know the question you're asking is, do I really get a cap? Right? Isn't that what you're? And the answer is yes. When we have a ceremony, when you reach cap status, I'm not kidding, and we give you your own Keller Williams cap to wear. I'm not kidding. Not making that up. It's now a good time to get into real estate. The Law of Equilibrium comes from another. Gary Keller writes lots of books. A book called Shift. And he's talking about the equilibrium of the real estate market. And it's in the book, he says, the available income in a market determines the number of agents in that market. When the number of transactions falls, so does the number. What he's saying is that if real estate agents on average are making more money, more people want to be real estate agents. When they're making less money, less people want to be real estate agents. The low point of the income opportunity occurs when you have the most agents chasing the least amount of income. This is the important part. The high income opportunity point occurs on the way up when the fewest agents are chasing the most amount of income. That's a diagram from the book Shift. And by the way, the California Association of Realtors, which tracks agent count, right, members of the union, and as well as transactions, says that the time lag is about 2 years. So as the market surges, people start to want to get into real estate. When the market shifts, the tsunami of people that want to get the real estate license hasn't hit the beach yet, right? So they're still in the pipeline. They continue to get a license, and at this point you have the most people with real estate licenses, and the money is dropping. Where are we now, right? Well, we're down here, right, where the market is rebounding, but the number of people with real estate licenses has not. Really? Well, this chart comes from data provided by the California Bureau of Real Estate. And the red line shows the number of people with active real estate licenses. And the blue line is, that's salespeople, and the blue line is brokers. You can see that it peaked up in 2007 and around 2007 is when the number of agents peaked. The market had already started to go down, and you can see what's happened to the number of people with real estate licenses in the state of California since then. By the way, the little dotted line is the projection as to how this is going to go through 2016. We're at one of the lowest points we've been at in a decade for the number of people in real estate. There's an article that I put on my website that came from the same company that did this one, and I'll show you how to read. You can read it. But this is from another real estate media group called First Tuesday, and it says, expect licensee numbers to bottom around 2017, followed by a substantial increase in sales agents with the forecasted boom in real estate sales and prices. This next boom, most likely to occur in 2019 and 2020, this is talking statewide, will see the great confluence of first-time home buyers, cash flush retiring baby boomers as monetary policies produces a business cycle peak. And this chart shows that gold line is sales agent licenses issued, number of real estate licenses being issued. Right? You see that? And it started to pick up a little bit in 2014, and the other line are people that are renewing their license. And then this chart shows the sales licenses issued, that's the same line, and the green line is the volume of sales in California. So you can read more. I don't want to. The point is this. It's better to get into the business when it has been down and picking up than to get into the business when it's been up and slowing down. Isn't that was a lot of charts to say that. And we're in a been down but picking up market, right? The company I used to work at had an office right next door to this one, and we had a room about this size back in 2005 and that sort of time period. And I was doing career sessions like this, and I couldn't fit all the people in the room anymore. So I started to rent rooms at this called the Pruneyard Inn, which is across the street. Now it's a Hilton, I believe. And I finally couldn't fit everybody in their meeting rooms. And so I moved to the Westin Hotel in Santa Clara because I needed a room that would hold the 160 to 180 people that were coming to my career sessions back then. So if you look around at the number of people in the room tonight, is it better to get into real estate before I'm looking to rent larger spaces for the training program, right? Does everybody get the idea? So more about this. Market Watch from December 2014 basically is talking about expecting more home sales in 2015. Millennials are entering the market. Unemployment is down. 10 reasons why 2015 is going to rock. for real estate. This is from economists of Realtor.com. Millennials are entering the market. Home prices are stabilizing. Mortgage rates may rise a little bit. They're still below 4%. Did you know you could buy a house again with 3% down? Right? They've done studies where over half the people think you need a lot more than that. And this is, I'm not going to go through all of this, but the economists of the National Association of Realtors listed the 10 hottest markets for 2015, and number 6 on the list was the San Jose metropolitan area, which is expected. Do you understand our market is better than California's market is better than the country's? Do you realize that, right? But Silicon Valley is doing better than California. We're in our own little bubble, right? How to choose an office. All right, so you say, all right, sounds good. This sounds like I want to get in on the ground floor when the market. You're saying you can make money in bad markets, but it's better to get started when the market is going to rise, right, rather than fall. Where would you want to get started? Well, one of the articles that you've been given a copy of came from also Inman News back from November, and the article was called, I don't know, she never did give you your copy, did she? Yeah, well, anyhow, Jennifer's listening, she might not be. I'll get you one. That's what happens if you come early. It's called Underestimate Keller Williams at Your Own Risk, is the name of the article. And this is just a little quote from it about after 2 decades of real estate industry innuendo, gossip, and cheap shots. Real estate giant Keller Williams has not only defied the critics, but begun to dust many of its competitors, growing at warp speed with a strong mix of culture and a business model that is winning. I was at Century 21 when we were the top dog in real estate, right? You know, we were the #1 real estate organization in the United States, the #1 in the world. And I remember when we would say, Keller who, right? You know, we used to make the joke that, isn't it a paint company? Isn't Keller Williams a paint company? Something like that, right? In 2010, I was at Century 21 when Keller Williams passed Century 21 to be the 2nd largest real estate organization in the United States. And in 2013, Keller Williams passed Coldwell Banker to be the largest residential real estate organization in the United States. And later that year, passed RE/MAX, which was #1 in Canada, to be the #1 real estate organization in Canada. And in early 2015, passed Century 21 worldwide. Century 21 was the largest worldwide real estate organization. And at this moment, Keller Williams is the largest residential real estate organization, not only in the United States and Canada, but also in the world. Coming from 30 years ago, it's phenomenal growth. In fact, from Inman News, they point out that in just 2 years, we grew by 41%, becoming the largest. This is from November in North America. We're growing 4 times the rate of the National Association of Realtors. This talks about, we also, largest in the United States, largest in North America, largest in the world. One of the reasons that for our growth is something called profit share. First of all, putting this in perspective, you realize the amount of money you contribute to the company is capped. The most any agent ever contributes to our office is $30,000. But that's not all. Every month, 48% of our profits, this is true for Keller Williams as a system in the United States and Canada, 48% of our profits are shared with our associates. Every month, we share with our associates nearly half of all of our profits. Last year, it was close to $100 million in the system. Since we started, it's been over $500 million. And in February alone, it was 4.76 million, in 2015, which is a 37% increase over 2014. Remember, that was $100 million. And we're on track to profit share $130 million this year. How many of you have ever worked at a company that had profit share, right? 48% of the profits. I had people say, you mean 4 to 8, right? And the answer is no, we mean 48. Now, do you understand part of the logic of this is that the only real assets a real estate company has are the people that work there. Right? You understand? And when we say our agents are partners in our business model, we mean partners in that we involve them in the decision-making process. There's something called the Associate Leadership Council, which is like a board of directors which is comprised of agents. And we split the profits with them, which sounds sort of more like business partners than a typical real estate. You understand why our model is agent-oriented, right, including profit share. So why do people join Keller Williams? If you were to round up people in our office and interrogate them, why are you here? We had this discussion at our meeting today. Some people are here for the money, right? You understand agents that are that capped at 100% in 6 weeks, which we have people do, and the rest of the year they're at 100%, are hard to recruit if you have an office where the highest they can go is 80, right? You understand? I mean, there's some people that just say, well, I'm here because I make more money than I would anyplace else. Some people are here because of profit share, right? By the way, just so you understand the way the profit share system works, after 3 years, you vest in the profit share system, which means you continue to participate whether you work here or not. You can name a beneficiary, and we have agents that retire once their profit share gets to a certain level. Our top profit share agent at this office last year had a $6,000 a month, right? Just to be clear, the way profit share works, I'll just explain that, is that when you join Keller Williams, and let's say you know somebody who wants to join Keller Williams, either new or an experienced agent, it doesn't matter what office they join, they'll be asked, who referred you, why are you here, and they name you, right? So that's one thing that has to happen. You have to be the causal agent of somebody else joining any Keller Williams anywhere, right? It doesn't have to be this office, it could be anyone, anywhere. Number two, that person has to sell a house. You don't have to. But if they have a transaction and they're contributing, they're not at 100%, so they're contributing to company dollars, you're now eligible to participate in the profit share of that office. All right? So after 3 years, you vest in the profit share, which means you continue to get it. And by the way, it goes 7 levels deep. I don't want to get into this too much, but you understand if this gentleman joins and names me, and then somebody names him, and somebody names him, somebody names her, and on it goes, I will continue to receive part of the company profits from that system after 3 years forever, and I don't have to be working at Keller Williams or even working in real estate. That, by the way, is why some people join Keller Williams, is the ability to share in the profits of the company. Other people are here because of the training. Training Magazine ranked Keller Williams as the #1 training company in the world. This, by the way, was not a real estate list. It was just a list of companies with training. If you Google search Keller Williams training, you'll see what I mean. We have the best training, more training, and more training. We also have coaching. Training is one thing. You're sitting in a room that looks like this. Coaching is different. We have a coaching system at all of our offices where I'm a productivity coach for this particular office, where you set plans and you meet on a regular basis in group. Culture is harder to define. Notice in the Inman article referred to culture, we have on our wall at the back of this training room our belief system. And one of the things that they'll tell you at Keller Williams when you join is that we're all about integrity. And there are some agents that frankly don't fit our culture. And when you walked into the office, you may or may not have seen it, but to the left of where the receptionist sits is our mission, vision, and value statement. And that was careers worth having, lives worth living, businesses worth owning. And you'll also notice that it says at the bottom, for our value statement, God, family, then business. And so our actual system encourages people to do more than just sell real estate, right? Because that, by the way, is something you don't find on most real estate office walls. And technology, you get mobile apps, we have multiple websites, a customer relationship management system. These are some of the reasons that people join Keller Williams, right? And you can see our phenomenal growth. The coaching program I've already talked a little bit about. That's more things than you need. Why don't we go to, I'm just going to move ahead to how to get started, if that's okay. By the way, the most recent book that Gary Keller wrote was called The One Thing, which is mentioned there. It's on the New York Times bestseller list. It's not a book about real estate, but a book about producing results and focus. I'll sell you one if you want. How to get started. How do you get a real estate license? Well, the general requirements are you have to be 18 years of age or older. You have to prove you're in the United States legally, and you can't be convicted too often of certain crimes, right? Those are sort of the too often. Yeah. The licensing process is you have to complete 3 college-level courses in real estate. That doesn't mean you have to go to college. You have to pass an exam given by the California Bureau of Real Estate, and then, only then, can you apply to get a license. So the way you apply, by the way, to take the exams, you have to fill out a form and include your college-level transcripts and mail it with a $60 fee to the Department of Real Estate. I'll be giving you so, and yes, I mean mail as in an envelope with a stamp. People many times have said, well, I can just apply online to take the real estate exam, and the answer is no, you can't. All right, you got to follow the stuff in an envelope and mail it to them, and wait. It says here at least 6 weeks. Right now, it's taking 8 weeks. If you were to apply to take the real estate licensing test today, it would probably be 8 weeks before you were actually taking the test. That's just the way it is right now. Before you can do that, however, you have to take those college-level courses. One of them has to be real estate principles, one has to be real estate practice, and the third one is an elective, and it can come from a long list of electives. Now, on this list, you might notice, is accounting, economics, and business law. What that means is that if you've ever taken accounting, economics, and business law from a junior college or better and can get your hands on the transcripts, you've taken the third course, the elective course. People will say to me, well, I've taken all 3. It doesn't help you because you've got to have real estate principles and then real estate practice and one from this list, right? But you still have to take real estate principles and practice. It has to be from California. California doesn't play well with other children. They don't care that you've got a real estate license from another state. They don't care that you're a broker in another state. They don't care that you've got a PhD in real estate from another state. They're going to look and say, did it say California real estate principles and California real estate practice?
Which of the elective courses would be most valuable?
The most valuable of the electives is finance. Right. It's part of, we have a package, and our package includes finance. It's the one that there are more questions on the state exam about of the whole group. You could take real estate office administration, and they might have one question on that, but there will be 15 to 20 questions on finance. So that's the one that we would recommend. It's also the most practical.
Can you take other courses after?
You can take courses as long as you want to, but let me just explain the courses. You may not want to. So where would you go to get these courses? Well, you could go to college. Very few people take that approach because it takes a really long time and it isn't cheap. Most systems, and our system, involves an online course to get your certificates. Now let me just explain how an online college-level course works. You enroll in the course. You log into the website, which is a requirement. It starts a clock ticking. You download the textbook, which is a PDF. All right, we do that to save money. But by the way, the books, I have a link to where you could buy them on Amazon. We don't have bookstores anymore, right? But if you wanted an actual book, you could buy it on Amazon. You can buy used books. It's one of the top-selling books, right, textbook. So then you wait. So you logged in, you downloaded the book, you read the book. There's or don't read the book, there's practice tests and things in the book, which I'll explain as we go on a little bit more. And then after 2.5 weeks, you're eligible to take the final exam. The final exam is an online final exam. You can take it at home, and it's open book. Let me make sure that that last part sinks in. This is a online, at home, open book, cheat as much as you want to final exam. Right? Do you understand? You can. It's time. You get 2.5 hours to get 60 out of 100 questions right. So you're shooting for a D minus, right? Now, do you understand? You all could pass this test right now, right? If I give you the book and 2.5 hours, you could look up in the book 60 answers in 2.5 hours, right? Do you understand? There was one person that she forgot to even download the book, and so she Google searched answers, right? She would just say, oh, and just type in, and she found that Wikipedia answered far more than enough. Do you understand? This is not a hard thing. Now, I'm going to get back to how we prepare you for the test, which is something else, but let me just explain one of the differences between our course and some of the other college-level courses. I've tried other college-level courses as part of my program, and some of them are very difficult for people to get through. And part of the reason is they require that they flash stuff on the screen, you read it, and then you take a quiz. If you don't pass the quiz, you have to go back and they flash the stuff on the screen, and then you take the quiz, and if you don't pass it, you have to keep doing that. And some chapters have like 50 of these quizzes. And many people just give up, right? Because it's very time-consuming to get through that process. And the reason that they do that is that's their only shot at teaching you anything about real estate. So they make you go through this very difficult process. Our course, the course that we use, there's one test, it's the final exam, and that's it. Right? Do you understand? There's none of the 50 quizzes that you have to work your way through. So does everybody understand that this doesn't sound that difficult to do? So you passed your 3 college-level courses, you can now take the real estate licensing test. It's a longer test. Instead of 100 questions, it's 150 questions. You need a higher percentage to pass. Instead of 60%, you need 70. By the way, does 70% sound like a high score to require? Does that sound like a high score, really? I mean, really? I mean, think of it. You're laying on the operating table and your brain surgeon walks in, right? And he's pulling on the gloves and he says, don't worry, I passed the brain surgeon's exam. I got 70%. Nailed that test. I got 70%. Right, do you understand what that means? It means he missed more than 1 out of every 4 questions they asked him about brain surgery. That doesn't sound very good. The 30% he didn't know may be what he's doing to you. So do you understand my point? Do you have to be a brain surgeon to get a real estate license? Does it sound like you have to be a brain? No, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to get. All you have to do is get 105 out of 150, and you pass the real estate exam. Having said that, over half the people fail to take the test. Every time the Bureau of Real Estate gives their exam, they fail more than half the people in the room. Many of them, they have failed before. By the way, of those 50% plus that fail every time they give the test, how many of them successfully completed those 3 online open book, cheat as much as you wanted to, college-level courses? They all did. Right? Remember, you can't take this test without completing the 3 college-level courses. So my point is, my subtle point is, just getting through the 3 college-level courses does not mean you're going to get a real estate license. Right? You understand? All that means is you've done what's minimally sufficient to be eligible to sit for the exam. What we do differently is we have classes that teach you how to pass the exam. All right? So our system, by the way, the timing of it is you can't take a final exam until after 2.5 weeks has elapsed from when you enrolled. Because you understand, you could pass tonight, and that would make it all look silly, wouldn't it? Right? Because it's supposed to be a 45-hour course, so they make you wait 2.5 weeks. So when you start principles, you have to wait 2.5 weeks before you can take the practice. Before you can take the final, you have to pass principles before you can start practice. And then after 2.5 weeks, you take the final, you can start finance, and you have to wait 2.5 weeks before you can take that final. So assuming you did those 3 as fast as possible, it would be 7.5 weeks. All right, you understand? If you did that as fast as possible, it would take 7.5 weeks. By the way, also you need to understand that these 3 courses overlap a great deal. This isn't like taking philosophy, physics, and biochemistry, right? You understand where none of the textbooks have any of the same words in them, right? This principles and practices are 80% identical courses. By identical, I mean the same chapters, same diagrams, same quizzes, same questions on the final exam. 60% of what's in finance is in principles and practice. Right? You understand? This is not 3 distinct, different college courses. This is a mishmash of the same stuff, just reworded over and over again. So while you're doing that, I have a lot of classes in this very room and on the internet. On Wednesday nights, there's 12 of them from 6 to 8:15. They're broadcast on the internet. I have a decent-sized crowd on Wednesday nights. However, there's usually more people watching the web version of it than are in the room. They're all recorded, and replays are available whenever you want to, as often as you can stand it. How about that? After every class is practice testing, which is done online that's on that particular subject. After you've gone through all 12 classes, there's comprehensive testing. That means it's testing all of the subjects together. And before you go take your test, there's an all-day Saturday workshop. I think the technical term is a cram class before you go take your test. So that's what we're doing. We're not just throwing you to do the 3 college level courses on your own and then go fight to take the state exam. These 2 things should be done together. In other words, while you're going through the college level courses, you ought to be doing the live classes. My classes are not designed to teach you the college level material, because a lot of that's a waste of time, but it's designed to teach you what you need to know to pass the exam, but all of that's in the college level program. Was that enough about that? Does that make sense? All right. Let me just say one more thing about the college level, because you don't want, getting a real estate license is like getting a fishing license, in that the license does not catch fish. Isn't that right? So what we're talking about now is how to get the fishing license class. This, by the way, is not going to help you when you're fishing. We have other classes that we teach on how to fish, right? We teach you what you need to do to be successful in the business. These courses are somewhat academic in nature and not practical tools that you would use when you're in the business. So you wouldn't want to be taking additional courses like this. You want to get your license, you want to go through the how to fish training. I, in a different lifetime, it seems like, had put together a college level course that was approved by the Department of Real Estate, and the process was a good illustration of what's going on. They have a rule that says, I mean, the numbers they may have modified them since then, but roughly the rules are, in order to have a college level course approved, you have to have a textbook. The textbook has to have a minimum of 400 pages with an average of 300 words on a page. And the rules say they do not count graphs, charts, pictures, and forms as part of the word count that is required to get your course approved. So they actually have a guy at the Department of Real Estate, when you send them the book, who takes the book and randomly picks out pages in your book and counts how many words are on the page. Then looks at every page in the book to determine how much of the page is words and how much is form, pictures, charts, and things like that. When they come up with a page count and an average number of words on a page, they multiply the 2 together. And if the count is enough, the word count is high enough, your book is approved. If it's less, it's rejected. Do you understand? Nobody reads the book, right? No one reads the book. They just weigh the book. So a specific example is in my license preparation class, I have a section on RESPA, which is the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. It's about that long. It's like 3 or 4 slides in my presentation. In the book, there is more than 12 pages on RESPA. a history of the legislation, excerpts from the HUD information booklet, or all the, so people used to ask me, why did you have 12 pages in the textbook on RESPA when there's really only about 5 things I need to know on the state exam? And the answer is because I needed 400 pages, right? You understand? With an average of 300 words on a page. So this is the other problem with the college level course. Each textbook is about 500 pages long. Most of what's in there is not going to be on the real estate exam, right? Do you understand? So you start accumulating these books. Don't pay attention to that for the tests. My classes focus on what you need to know. There's 12 of them. They're in a rotating schedule. I tell people it's like a pizza with 12 slices. And the reason I say that is because there's no first piece to the pizza. Isn't that right? Which slice is the first slice? The answer is whichever one you take. So they are all taught as independent modules. They do not build on each other. You could start with any lesson. You can take them in any order. You can repeat them as often as you can stand it. It happens to be, let's see, tomorrow is lesson number 10, property taxation and business opportunities. I do not assume you've been to any other classes. There's also subdivisions, by the way, thrown in there. And I don't assume you've been to any other classes or done any reading. You can start with that. The course components, the college level credit comes from an affiliate called Career Web School. You will find them on the list of approved college level courses by real estate. I'm not, because I don't do college level classes. I teach the license training classes, and the practice testing comes from another company I've worked with for a really long time called Real Estate Trainers. Virtually everybody who goes through the course passes on their first try. If you don't pass on your second try, I'll give you your money back. By the way, how many of you have seen my Yelp reviews? Anybody seen the Yelp reviews? Michael Devlin Real Estate School, check it out on Yelp. You'll see I have a very high pass rate. If you don't pass on your second try, I'll give you your money back. I don't need, and Phildo here is saying my Yelp reviews are awesome. Thank you. Took me a long time to write them all. Just kidding. I don't know what it's like when somebody passes the second time. It's been decades since that's occurred, but I'll give you your money back. I encourage you to come and sit through a class. There's no cost or obligation. Do it as a guest. See if you like it or not before you sign up. If you enroll in our course, you're not obligating yourself to work for Keller Williams. You're not obligated to work for Keller Williams, and I guess we're not obligated to hire you either, right? But, frankly, that's why we're doing it, and we have a placement program. Right? If you don't want to work at this office, we have offices. By the way, we have offices in Cupertino and Los Gatos and San Jose. We're opening up a branch in Almaden. We're opening up an office in Santa Clara. And that office is going to have a branch in Silver Creek. I mentioned that we're a fast-growing company, right? And so we have Palo Alto and Fremont, and any of our offices, we can help you get placed at. Yes.
So where you are, where you can. So
your license is good for the state of California, and we have reciprocal arrangements with the multiple listing services in most of Northern California and parts of Southern California. But your license is good everywhere. All right.
Go down and sell a house in LA.
You can sell a house in LA. LA happens to be one of the other MLSs that we have an agreement with, and you can find homes up here. Right. There are some technical things involved in terms of getting maybe use a different lockbox key, but the answer is you can sell it anywhere. And so we have a placement program. You go through this training, you can go to work for any of our offices or for none of them. We have a tuition rebate program. Once you've gone through our course on your first transaction, we'll give you the money you spent to go through the real estate school in addition to your commission. And how much is all this? The tuition is $398. That's for everything. By everything, I mean the 3 college level courses, the 12 live classes, the replays, the practice testing program, the written materials, and the Saturday exam workshop. Everything is $398. If you've already taken the college level courses, because I have people that have failed the exam, they went elsewhere and failed the exam, you don't need to do that again. It's $299. Now, sometimes people get upset at this point if they're good at math and quick, because it means that the 3 college level part is $99. And I meet people regularly that have paid $350, $450, and more for the college level courses, and they're kind of disappointed when they find out that they could have got them for $99. You'll find if you check out some of my competitors that you're going to find courses that are completely online, no actual classes that cost $400, $415, $450, right? I'm just saying. Once you pass the exam, you can apply to get a license. It's $245 to get a license issued. They want fingerprints. Remember, can't be convicted too often. And proof that you're in the United States legally. A copy of a passport will do. The costs, what does all this cost? Well, $398 for the complete license preparation program and the college courses. It costs $60 to take the state exam. $49 is the processing fee to have them run your fingerprints. The rolling fee, which is the fee to take your fingerprints, ranges from $20 to $30. I picked $25. To get a license issued is $245. Joining the union, remember the union, it varies by month because it's prorated over a calendar year. I picked a middle month, which is $600 to join. Joining the multiple listing service is $200. And the market center, that just means, I should word it a little bit differently, all the other stuff you might want to get, business cards, name badge, open house sign, that sort of stuff, about $125. You're looking at about $1,700, $1,800. Not all at once, because you can't do this all at once. You have to start at the beginning. And the timeline, by the way, is at least 3.5 months. Right? If you're starting from beginning point and you're doing it as fast as possible, it's going to take you 3.5 months to get the license issued. Right? 7.5 weeks to go through the college level courses, 8 weeks to get a test date from the Bureau of Real Estate, assuming you're doing it as fast as possible, about 3.5 months. Once you're in the business, there are monthly expenses of about $225. Multiple listing services and access fee every month. Other websites and other things that are related to that are about $70 a month. Errors and omissions insurance is like malpractice insurance. In case something goes wrong, it's $225 or roughly to be in real estate on a monthly basis. After you get your license is good for 4 years. Every 4 years you have to pay them $245 and take 45 hours of what's called continuing education. It costs under $100 to do all that. Not very difficult to do, just saying you have to do it. And if you would like to, if you have more questions and you would like to make an appointment to talk to me individually, I'd be happy to do so. That's my phone number and my email address. If you're saying, I don't need to know anymore, how do I sign up? I can tell many of you are thinking that. If you go to my website, which is the dreclass.com, by the way, those articles I was referring to is in the section called the blog. If you're saying, well, wait a second, I'm not going to pay you any money to actually sit through a class, first of all, you could watch a video demo of one of our classes that I did there. And if you click on free guest lesson, it'll give you an opportunity to sign up for one of the live classes, either by webinar or in person. If you're saying, I don't need to do that, I know enough, how do I sign up? You click on the sign up button, that would make sense. And there's 2 parts to it because there's the college level course and the license preparation. Click here to sign up for the license prep only, that means not the college level part. You click there and you fill out this profile form, including a username and password. And once you pay, people will say to me, who's getting my credit card information? And the answer to that is my merchant account is with a small local company called PayPal. And that doesn't mean you have to use PayPal, but you could use PayPal. I have a merchant account with PayPal. You could use a Visa, MasterCard, or Discovered American Express, or whatever these other 2 are. And when you click on PayPal checkout, you're going to PayPal, right? So that's the answer, is who's going to get your credit card number is PayPal, and I kind of think they probably already have it. But anyhow, that's how you sign up for the live classes. The college level courses is the second part of the sign up. You click on that link, and what we only want to do here is we just want the basic 100, that's the 345 hours, $99 program. Do not get the Works for the Works Deluxe. Don't buy, because notice it talks about here the National and California Exam Preparation Guide. That's what most of the courses do. Most states have a national system. Like in Nevada, there's 2 tests. You take the national test and the Nevada test. Then you could go to Texas within a few months and transfer your national score and just take the Texas test. Then you could go to Illinois in a few months and transfer your national score and take the Illinois test. California does not use that system. Right? California does not use the national testing system. California writes all of their own questions. So many of the companies that are preparing people for the California exam are just giving you a copy of their national testing material. But you understand, have you ever heard that California, we're different, right? And our test is different. And so don't buy the Works for the Works Deluxe. Just get the basic $99 course. My license preparation module is where you're going to get what you need to pass the real estate exam. This is just so you can easily, inexpensively, and quickly knock off those 3 college level courses. How did that go?
Great.
What if you want to do, just get the license to see more of the MLS listings and possibly do this part-time? You can do that. Some people start that way. What I would say is that if you're serious about being an investor, then you would want to, that's like sort of, I think I'm going to go to medical school because I have a foot problem, and that way I can work on my own foot. Right, you know what I'm saying? So if you're asking the question from the point of view that I might be an investor, that's real investors generally are interested in having agents to work with them. But we encourage our agents to be investors. It's just that this is a expensive and very time-consuming way just to get a peek at what's in the multiple listing service. Have you heard have you heard of Zillow? I mean, there are other places where you can see the listings. You don't get the same detail of information. Very few people survive who just go through this whole process just because they want to buy or sell houses for themselves. It's really more designed to be an agent. But there's no law that says you can't do that. Any other questions? No? Cool. Come to a class, check it out. If you haven't heard enough, and I can't imagine, I can't imagine you haven't heard enough, but call me and we can make an appointment to talk more.
Thank you.
When is the first class starting? Great question. Tomorrow is the first class. It's actually number 10, but there is no first class. You just jump in at any point. Come to tomorrow's class. They're all equally confusing at first. So there is no, I tried not numbering them, but people went nuts, right? I was going to give them just some random designation and color scheme, and people went nuts. But so I've numbered them, but it doesn't matter which one you start with. All right.
I got a question.
Sure. Good.
I was coming for a property management company. Basically, they're going to go in and probably pay for my tuition money. So do I have to take the board of realtors, the MLS?
No, not necessarily. If you're going to work for a property management company, you're in one of the professions. You only join the board of realtors so that you can show homes to buyers and list residential property. That could happen later on. Okay. Many property management companies are not members of the Association of Realtors. Okay. Because we have some rentals, but very few are in our multiple listing service, so it's not, generally speaking, it's a totally separate thing. Okay. You're only going to join the association if you're working with 1 to 4 residential unit properties, single family, duplex, triplex, and fourplexes. You're showing them to potential buyers, or you're listing sellers' properties. If you're not planning to do that, if you're just doing loans or just doing property management or just doing commercial, you don't join the association, you don't join the multiple listing service. That's a general rule. All right? Cool. All right.